Greetings and welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Gyesie, transformational coach and shamanic leadership guide here at Inner Mileage. Here to talk to you about the journey from being a seeker to being a knower, the alchemy of the empath after narcissistic abuse. So how the empath transitions from being a seeker to a knower. So the background of this is based on realizing that there comes a moment in every empath's life when the agony of seeking reaches its end. And the question that once consumed an empath, why did this happen to me? Why do I attract narcissists? How do I heal? No longer haunts you. Instead, a knowing emerges, a deep, irrefutable understanding that transcends doubt, intellectual curiosity, and external validation. This is a shift from being a seeker to a knower. A transformation so profound it rewires every fabric of your existence. And this matters significantly because many seekers never reach this point. In fact, they spend their whole lives in the seeker phase, endlessly trying to decode their pain, searching for a missing key outside themselves. But for those who do, those who step into the realm of the knower, life is never the same. They become sovereign, unshakable. Their presence alone shifts the energy of a room. But how does this happen? What makes an empath evolve? And why does a narcissistic abuse become the fire that forges this alchemy? Well, let's go into a bit of the seeker's journey through the hell realm. You see, the seeker is often desperate because they believe knowledge will save them, that answers will mend their broken hearts. And so the seeker scours books, watches endless YouTube videos, consults gurus, and takes courses. But why does the pain persist? Why? Despite all the seeking, does the story repeat? This is a psychological mechanism of trauma bonding. The seeking is often an unconscious attempt to solve an old puzzle. You know, the childhood of not being seen, for example, not being heard, not being safe. And when an empath experiences narcissistic abuse, they revert to their childhood patterns of hyperanalysis, believing that if they can understand, they can prevent it from happening again. And this is where the seeker's paradox is. You know, seeking feels empowering at first because it gives the illusion of control. But in reality, it's a trap. Because the more the person seeks, the further the empath drifts away from the knowing that has always been in them. You know, I have a teacher that I work with, my Buddhist teacher, and I remember in the early days of my practice, I'll tell her, what book should I read and what should I be studying? She would always say, Tori, practice, 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 practice. And I thought it was dismissive at first, but as I've matured in my journey and become stabilized in it, I get it now. And that is the paradox that I'm speaking about. Because the seeker is trapped in time, forever looking backward to analyze the past or forward to anticipate the future. Whereas the present is where all transformation occurs. Therefore, it remains inaccessible because of the marriage to the past or the future. So this brings us to this discussion of loops. You know, understand the neuroscience of seeking and trauma loops, because we know that science gives us the answer. Seeking is a function of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that deals with reasoning and problem solving. But in an empath traumatized by narcissistic abuse, the amygdala, the fear center, keeps that person trapped in survival mode. And the brain is wired to seek safety by figuring it out. This is why empaths stay trapped in analysis paralysis, always looking for outward answers. Studies in neuroplasticity, which is rooted in neuroscience, show that the more we engage in certain thought patterns, the more deeply ingrained they become. In other words, seeking is addictive because it reinforces the false hope that safety lies in knowledge, just reading to know. But trauma healing is not cognitive. It is cognitive to a point, but not only cognitive, it's also somatic, body-based. It's felt. That's why the seeker never finds what they're looking for, because they are searching in the wrong place. So let's talk about the alchemy of the knower, transitioning from the hell realm to the heaven realm. So as you're on this path, something happens one day. The empath stops asking. The war within ends. And in that silence, something extraordinary emerges. And that's knowing. Not knowledge, but knowing. The difference is knowledge is accumulated, knowing is embodied. Knowledge requires study, knowing is immediate, cellular, and unquestionable. And the shift happens through surrender, not resignation, but transcendence. It's the moment the empath realizes that there's nothing to fix, nothing to prove, nothing to seek. They're already whole. So what's the spiritual and esoteric explanation for this? Well, in many mystical traditions of the world, this transition is well known and very well documented, this shift that we speak about. For example, in Buddhism, this is a shift from conceptual knowledge, samjna, to prajna, wisdom, or pana, wisdom. Then in Christianity, it's the moment Saul transitions on the road to Damascus and becomes Paul, with the scales falling from his eyes, therefore seeing, and you can call this a metaphorical, insightful scene for the first time. And in Hermeticism, it's the transition from the lesser mysteries to the greater mysteries. In alchemy, it's the transformation of lead into gold, the shedding of the false self to reveal the true self. And what all of these teachings reveal is that suffering is the catalyst. The pain of narcissistic abuse is not a curse. It is the fire that burns away the illusion, you see. So what is the science of knowing, and why and how does this shift happen? It's related to neuroplasticity and rewiring of your perception. So the moment an empath stops seeking, the brain undergoes a fundamental shift. It really does. And neuroplasticity takes over, right? This is the ability for the brain to establish new neural pathways or new ways of looking at the world, new patterns, right? The default mode network, which is the part of the brain that's responsible for rumination, goes quiet. The prefrontal cortex, once hijacked by trauma, now integrates experience rather than overanalyzing it. This is why knowing feels so peaceful, because the war in the mind ends when you come to this place of embodied knowing. And it's part of the reason why people who've had near-death experiences, for example, those who've had deep meditative breakthroughs or spiritual awakenings, often report that after the shift, they can't explain how they know certain things, they just do. And the need to justify disappears. So how does the empath transcend the hell realm? Well, empaths who shift to knowing no longer question their intuition. They trust life. And this is the whole point, to come to a place of trust in life, right? With discernment, but having trust, not doubt. The narcissist was once the source of pain. Now they are seen as the ultimate teacher, which they are. And every experience is understood as necessary, therefore suffering ceases. And the empath begins to embody the life of a knower. They no longer seek relationships, they attract them. They no longer try to prove their worth, they embody it. And because of this, their lives transform. And if you're ready to shift from knowing, from believing or seeking to knowing, you're in the right place. Type transform in the comment section. Let us know your experience with this and we can be of help to you. Transform will trigger that. Or you can send me a message at nana@innermileage.com, because your journey has just begun. You've just transitioned from the mind to the heart, from the ego to the heart, from the lower self to the higher self. And this is how you stabilize and metabolize, catalyze, and activate and manifest your true purpose and calling. If this video resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe. And remember to hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime there are new postings. And I want to encourage you to realize that seeking is a necessary part of the journey, but it's an evolution to the place of knowing. Keep knowledge, keep knowing, keep ascending.